This is my current TRT protocol. I'm currently on 120 milligrams of testosterone a week divided into 3 injections. The more frequent injections lead to more stable hormone levels. The idea of TRT is to replace natural testosterone production. Testosterone is naturally produced in small amounts every single day. So the idea of doing only 1 shot a week, or even worse, 1 injection every 2 weeks like some endocrinology societies would suggest, is just completely absurd. 1 injection of testosterone a week has a majorly suppressive effect on sex hormone binding globulin, or SHBG for short. This leads to a massive amount of free testosterone, and you may be thinking more free testosterone the better, but that's not always the case. High free testosterone levels can lead to more aromatization, and this is what drives up estradiol levels and estrogenic symptomatology. Large boluses also tend to increase erythropoiesis, which is the creation of new red blood cells, and drive up your sympathetic nervous system, which is a fight or flight system, leading to anxiety, irritability, and even insomnia. So hopefully that kind of explains why multiple injections are much better than 1. Some feel good at 2 injections a week, others do daily. What's best for you, you'll have to work out between your own self-experimentation and working with your doctor. For me, 3 injections a week has been the sweet spot. With frequent injections, I have no need to modulate estrogenic side effects with any amount of pharmacology, so no AIs, no SERMs, nothing. This gives me a total testosterone of around 600 to 700 nanograms per deciliter and a free testosterone that hovers somewhere between 20 and 30. This is more than enough for me. When it comes to testosterone, more is not always better. I've had testosterone in the multiple thousands and felt like absolute shit, and I've had testosterone at 500 and felt amazing. Some guys are fine at 400 nanograms per deciliter and other guys need 1,000. More is not cooler. More is not better. Having a higher number does not mean that you're going to make any more muscular gains or anything like that. There's no evidence that within a normal physiologic range, a higher number makes more muscle than a lower, meaning there's no evidence to support that an 800 testosterone leads to more muscle gains than a 400 testosterone would. Now don't get me wrong, a 3,000 testosterone level definitely will. But when we're talking about TRT, we're talking about within a normal physiologic range. The goal should be symptom relief. Not looking like sebum is not a symptom, and TRT will never turn you into sebum, I'm sorry. Now I'll show you how I draw up and inject my testosterone. We're about to do drugs on YouTube. Make sure you have a clean surface, and I like to keep everything in one box. Right here we have the 1 milliliter syringes, alcohol swabs, 18 gauge needles to draw, 27 gauge needles to inject, and then here's all my vials of testosterone. Of note, the smaller the gauge, the bigger the needle. The higher the gauge, the smaller the needle. I don't know if you can see this, but this testosterone has crashed. So you can see all those crystals down there. It's solid. Basically, this happens when it gets too cold. I'm going to put water in this glass, heat up the water till it's boiling, and then put this testosterone in, and that should all dissolve. This happens sometimes. You can call the pharmacy. Sometimes they'll replace it. Sometimes they'll just tell you heat it up. So this is a trick. Testosterone is not bad when it looks like this. You can still use it. It's a pain in the ass, but this is a trick. Just put it in some hot water, let it dissolve, and then pin. All right, so we got everything out. First, start with your actual syringe. Take this. I like to fill up the amount of air that I'll be injecting, so 0.2 units or 0.2 cc's. Actually, that would be 20 units, 0.2 cc's. And then this is our drawing needle. This is the big one. I like to minimize touching any of the plastic around it. This is sterile, so I'm going to try to leave it that way. Now that it's exposed to the air, it's no longer sterile, but still don't touch it and introduce any bacteria if possible. Just screw it on. Swab the top of the alcohol bottle first, hopefully killing any microorganisms that are there. The actual friction of rubbing is really how alcohol works well to get bacteria off, so rub it down good. All right, so now we inject that 0.2 into there. I like to tip it upside down, get it so that the actual needle is in the oil and not in the air, so you don't draw up a lot of air. And there we have it, just 0.2. So it's going to be 40 milligrams since this is 200 milligrams per milliliter. Now again, swoop this up, uncap it, and now we're going to put on our actual injection needle. Again, try to minimize actually touching the kind of base of that in any way possible. So that's our injection needle. This is a 1 inch long 27 gauge, so small. Now I will swab my ventroglute. The ventroglute is basically the side of the hip, hence the glute medius. So I'll show you guys my ass here. So I like to try to kind of push out the muscle so you can feel the glute medius. Swab from the inside, work your way out. Make sure that's all good. Like to try to let it dry a bit. Uncap your needle, I like to pull to the side. This is called the Z technique. This is pulling across the skin so that when you put a portal in, it'll close off, if that makes sense, and the oil won't leak out. A lot of times people complain about the oil leaking out. This is a way to combat that. So we have that glute medius there. Try to relax now. Sometimes it hurts, other times not at all. This is about medium. Okay, it's in there. I like to try to pull the plunger out just to see if I can aspirate any blood. A lot of people tell you that you don't need to do this. I think you do. If I was in a vessel right now, I could fill up my whole vessel with oil, leading to a pulmonary embolus. I don't really want to do that. So, just pull the plunger back, make sure there's no blood. And then slowly inject it in, can't feel a thing. There we have it, pull it out. And again, that's gonna close that skin and sliding over the hole. And as you can see, no oil, no blood, good to go. You could put a Band-Aid. I don't, this is a 27 gauge needle, whatever. I gotta find my cap here, swoop it up. Done. The only other hormones I take are DHEA and pregnenolone. These are neurosteroids. As the name implies, these are hormones that work on our brain and our central nervous system. After years of anabolic steroid use and never monitoring these, my levels were nearly detectable, and I could feel it too. I felt like I was getting really stupid. I was always at loss for words. My sleep quality wasn't great, and my libido took a hit too, despite having adequate levels of androgens. I personally started on 25 milligrams of DHEA and 10 milligrams of pregnenolone. When that didn't increase my levels enough, I switched to 50 milligrams of both. I personally prefer getting these through pharmacies because they come micronized. A lot of the over-the-counter ones don't, but some do. Just be on the lookout for that word micronized and make sure it's a reputable brand. If DHEA and pregnenolone are actually low, then supplementing with them can have a ton of benefit. But if you don't need them, there's no need to add them in. A lot of these TRT clinics will just kind of blindly add them in to increase their sales. And even though these are over-the-counter, they're not benign. They don't come without side effects. So make sure that you at least test them, and if you're low and symptomatic, then you may benefit from using them. Hopefully that was somewhat helpful, but remember that TRT is a super personalized journey. Don't go anywhere where they're giving you a cookie cutter protocol that isn't targeted to you and your specific goals. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out in the comments below and I'll do my best to help. And hit subscribe if you're at all interested in anything related to human optimization, and I'll see you guys next time.